it to your screen at the same time. So here we are, blender scene. At the moment, I have only a couple of things in there. I have a camera, so if I click it, it's a camera. I have a single light, which is not going to be sufficient. Firstly, when you're rendering, I suggest you make a good floor. So here is one way to make a good floor. I'm going to go Shift-A Mesh, and this is slightly unusual, and I might choose something like a UV sphere. Now with this UV sphere, if I look side on and I go to wireframe mode, I'm going to basically be pretty ruthless and delete the bulk of that. Something like, help if I got into edit mode. Most of that, delete those vertices. And I'm going to highlight all of this.
It's a bowl, sir.
It does look like a bowl, and that's generally the idea, but I'm going to scale it up many, many times. I should turn on my screencast keys, and then you can kind of see what I'm pushing. So I'm going to push S for scale. It probably won't show the numbers, but if I type 100 for 100, it's just now gotten 100 times bigger, and it's probably too high, so I'm going to scale it in the Z-axis. So S, Z, you'll see the blue line, you won't see the Z, and then I'll just go in there. So essentially I've got a bit of ground, and it's this really large bowl. And one of the cool things about having something large like this is if you've got a whole lot of light shining around here, out on the edges over here where the light is not shining, it fades out to nothing. So that's quite handy. Have a think about what colour your model is. Think about complementary colours, that sort of thing. So I'm going to create a new material, give it a name, and material.001 is terrible, so this is just going to be ground material. Now I'm going to make this some kind of a greeny colour, definitely not that. Pull the value down and then go solid and then sort of see, oh no, it's not showing. Who can tell me why it's not showing? I'm in what view? So I'm only going to see the colour if I'm either in rendered or material preview. If I go to material preview, the lighting system is provided for me, and it's got an HDR around it. You can't see the HDR in the background. Another thing that quite often happens is people excuse me, change the background color to black. So there's actually no light being emitted by the background, so I'm going to go to excuse me, rendered mode, and what you can see is a bit of green there, and that's it. So why can I only see green here? No light, because this is my only light source, and if I bring that closer to the ground, excuse me, get that one back to rendered, let's get the light only, and I bring that closer to the ground, you'll see more light, obviously. So just for, I don't know if you want to call it laziness or just time-saving purposes, I'm going to use a pre-made model, which of course is going to be Suzanne Monkey Head, which is named after an orangutan apparently. So I'm going to put in a subdivision surface on here just because I like that it looks better with a subdivision surface on there. Now Suzanne Monkey Head I don't think looks very good in white. What colour should I make Suzanne the monkey head?
Yellow.
Yellow! Let's go with that. Yellow monkey. Let's actually make it yellow. And that looks way, way too saturated. So I'm going to turn the value down. Now, one of the things I want you to notice, can you see how flickery that shadow is? That's to do with settings for the render engine. Now this top icon up here, the one that looks like the back of a digital camera, if you click that, it has the render engine. So the real-time render engine, which you can kind of see sort of doing it in real time, is called Eevee. So if I change that to cycles, what you'll now notice is that it's flickery. And you'll see up here it's got path tracing sample. It's up to 2, 3, wait for it, 4. You see how long that takes. And that is a delay. And so this at sample rate, just to sort of get a guess as to what the quality is like, it's set at 32. Now also if you look over on the right hand side over here, that same one that looks like the back of a camera, and if you hover over it, it says render properties. The viewport setting is set to 32, but if you go to render it, it's going to by default render at 128 samples. That's going to take a long time, which is fine, it's just going to get a high quality. One thing that you can do to increase the quality is to bump up this render number. We don't need to do that quite so much anymore because there's a noise reduction function. It used to be ordinary and then it became okay, and now it's actually super high quality. So they've moved it though. I have to keep always looking for it. It's down the bottom, there it is. Third button down, the one that looks like, or supposedly looks like, a stack of photos. If you look really close, it's got a triangle, kind of looks like a mountain, and a little dot that kind of looks like either the moon or the sun or something, and then some other little outlines that just look like layers of pictures. Right down the bottom here is this tick box, denoising. I recommend that you tick that, do some trials and stuff anyway, but what that really does is it blurs out little fireflies, or sometimes called caustics. They're these dots that you want to blur out. So you can tick that denoising box. You can do a bit of testing to see, is this render at 128, is that okay? That might be higher than you need. So if you're looking at speed, you can decrease the render quality in cycles, and you can tick noise reduction. So those are many things that you can do. The next most important thing that I really want you to learn about is how do you get the camera to look in the right direction. So if I highlight my camera, there's my camera there, I can, like anything, click G for grab and move my camera and move it all over the place, but how do I get good control to make sure it's actually pointing at the thing I'm trying to show off? I start usually by looking through the camera, and if you hover over this button, what's the shortcut? What does it say there? Numpad 0. Numpad 0, very important that it's not the 0 across the top up next to the letter O, because that'll do something completely different, probably nothing at all. So if I click that, I'm looking through the camera. This yellow outline shows what's in the camera view, and it's slightly darker outside here. If I push the letter N, and you know it's the letter N because I just pushed it and you'll see it right there, the screencast keys popped up just like before, or you could click this little arrow here. My computer's being a wee bit laggy, not surprised given the number of things I'm telling it to do at once. But if we go to view, it's being a little bit laggy, there we go. When I see this one that says lock camera to view, you'll see the outline change a little bit. I click it. I did click it. I probably shouldn't tell this computer to do so many things at once. I'll give it another click and risk undoing it. There it is, it's ticked. And you'll now see the outline of the camera now has a dotted line. It looks slightly red. So if I scroll on my mouse wheel and move in a bit, I'm now zooming in slightly. If I middle mouse and pivot around, you'll see I am moving. I'm also holding down shift. So this is the easiest way to adjust the position of your camera. One thing I forget to do sometimes is untick this lock camera to view, and I ruin my camera positioning and it bugs me. So anyway, off that goes, and I've moved my camera into position. One very common thing that we do, I'll just jump out of that view so it's not such hard work on my processor, is we make the camera go around our subject. So I'm going to show you how to do that. My 3D cursor is still in the world origin, so I'm going to go Shift A. Now there's two types of circles, and I want to make sure that you understand. Mesh circle, that is a mesh. If I go curve circle, that's a Bezier curve. It is not a mesh, and it behaves differently. So this is the one I'm adding. So I'm going to click curve circle. Now there's my circle. It's just ever so slightly bigger than the monkey head. And if I zoom out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to push S for scale, and then I'll move my mouse away until that circle is now lined up with the pointy bit of the camera, and that's what I want. So when I confirm, I just click. So what we're really interested in is lining up that point of the camera, the back end of the camera, with the Bezier circle. That will not be at the right height, so if I change my view, you'll see it's not the right height, so I'm going to look from the side, and oh no, my ground is in the way. So you can either keep zooming in past that ground, or the sphere, which I'll rename ground. I'm going to click this little eyeball, and it's just going to not be in my way. I'll go back to re-highlighting my Bezier circle, and I want this Bezier circle to be the same height as my camera. So I'm going to go G for grab, Z for the Z-axis, and pull it up until it's the height of my camera. Now you might be wondering, why is that not lined up exactly with the edge? That's because of the camera's position. It's slightly off to the side, and if you're looking side on, you'll see slightly this amount will be sticking past it. What I want now is I want this camera, so I click that first, and holding down Shift, you'll see I'm holding down Shift, and then I'm going to Shift click this Bezier circle. Notice the color difference. This is kind of a reddier orange, and this is more of a yellowy orange. Now I've highlighted those in a particular order, and the color is matched up here in the scene collection. If I do Control P for parent, notice the size of this set parent to menu, and I want to get it to follow path. So make parent, and so essentially what's happening now is this camera is being told to follow the path. And if I go into the animation settings and I just push the space bar or the play button down here, it starts to go around. So you'll see the camera going around, and this view over here is what the camera should see. You'll also see the playhead is still continuing to go on, and let's investigate why. What's the end frame say down here? 250. So let's rewind that. And what we can do, should we want to, we could change the end frame to 100. Oops, not 10. 100. And you'll see now that this stops at 100. So when I hit play, it goes all the way around, and then it's going to get back to the beginning point, and then it sort of laps, and it just continues to loop as if the camera is just doing a circle. That's something that people quite often want to do. However, if that's turning around too fast, you can change the time mapping. So if we look through, I'm looking for time mapping. I've expanded too many of these things around a bit too much, so it might be a little bit, where the heck am I looking? I don't think it's so this is end frame. So I can change the end frame here just like I did before, end frame down there. Time remapping, there it is, thank you. Old, new, they're the same number. Okay? If I change those, it'll be different. So if we rewind that to the beginning and note the start point here, if I go old and then new and I double that, 200. And then I hit play, notice where it starts, I'll leave the mouse there, I'll hit start, and it's going around, and then it'll get to 100, and see how it repeats? It's only going halfway around the circle each time. So that's a little bit of an annoyance. So what we could do is change the end frame from 100 to what? What do you think we should change it to? 200. Awesome. So I push enter. It's now going to keep going, and it's going to go half the speed. It's going to give me 200 frames, and it just continuously keeps going around. So those are a couple of simple skills that you may wish to use. If I go back to rendered view, on that one at least is rendered. If I go over here to rendered, you'll see the color and what's happening. It's flickering because it's in cycles, it's not real time. Now if we pause it, what's a huge problem going on right here? Cool, so that's our next thing we're going to move on to. So we're going to look from the top. I'm going to teach you a 3-point lighting system. So with a 3-point lighting system, the camera position matters a lot. So this is our start camera position. There's 3 lights we want. We want one weak light. I'm going to move this light here, grab and just move that off to the back. And you'll see over here it's got some rim lighting. That's really good actually because it gives some definition to your character. I'm going to add in 2 other lights. I'll go Shift A and then I'll go down to light. And one good choice is area or sun, and it's inserted right in the middle. So I'm just going to go GZ, bring that up, and then so that camera is above the monkey head. I'll go GX and pull it across to the side. And then if I'm looking directly from the top, I want to make this about 45 degrees from the subject, and then I'm going to rotate that and aim it at the monkey. Now you might be going, why is that not showing up a lot? Anyone got any bright ideas why that's not? Nathan, why is it not showing up?
Because it's not strong.
It's not strong. And if we look at this one here, this green button, Data Object Properties, it's 10 watts. And if you know anything about light bulbs, 10 watts is pathetic. So let's crank that up to like 200. That's a decent sized light bulb, we can see some light on this. Now what you'll see is some rim light up here. That's the other light, this one in the back. That's quite good. That gives some good definition. There's some solid looking shadows there, which will be less if I put the ground back, because you'll get some bounce from the ground. Can you see how there's more light on the monkey there now? I'm also going to put an area light over here, but it's not going to be 200 watts. It might be more like 100 watts. So I've got two options. One is to insert another, or as a second option is to duplicate what I've got highlighted already, and I rotate that around. The problem right now is that's exactly the same strength, and we need shadows to give an idea of 3D form. We also need highlights to give an idea of 3D form. Let's have a look at this preview. It's got some good highlights at certain places, but if I turn this down to 100 watts, then you'll see it's a bit darker on one side and a bit brighter on the other side. I might turn this one up here from 200 watts to 300 watts and see how that goes. I get slightly better highlights, and then if I hit the space bar, it's kind of rendering and moving around, but it's very grainy. So this particular render engine cycles gives you the best quality, but it doesn't give you the best speed. So if I put that on Eevee, it goes round and there's no flickering, and it's really, really rapid. Okay, so that's what it looks like under Eevee. Under cycles, you'll get a better quality, but it takes a lot longer. If you're doing the rendering yourself, it'll take ages, and I don't recommend it. This picture here that's supposed to look like a printer, the output is going to a temporary directory. You change that and you tell it where do I want it to go. So you might go desktop, folder, renders. I double click in there and I go accept. So that would be a way to control that output. It is a way to do it if you want to do it yourself. However, a much faster way of doing that is to use a render engine. There's a few of you who've got your heads on your desk. Lift your... No, you're not. Well, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the others. So SheepIT. So this program, this is what I've been using. This is a 3D model of my head, but they squashed it to square. So I know I look funny anyway, but they squashed it to a square. Now I've earned 6.4 million points, and in the last 30 days I've rendered the equivalent of 276 days, which is quite a lot. I've uploaded one project that was 299 frames, and that would have taken one of these machines a whole day to do it all by itself, but it had it done in 40 minutes. So it's highly useful. Now, I'm not telling you what my password is, you already know what my email is, but one of the things that I can do is I can create a public password, and I can give it to you, and then you can load your project under my username.
Do you like that idea?
Yes, because what that'll do is when you order a project, like this project that I ordered, cost me 14,000 points.
But do you spend points?
You spend points. You earn them in order to spend them. Good question. So I earned spent 14,000 points. However, at the time I had 30 computers connected. Right now I've got 2 computers connected, one an international and my laptop sitting to my left. So they're earning points at the moment doing a job. But that was the one project that I had uploaded. They said they were going to delete the frames after 30 days. But you see, these all represent the frames that I had rendered, and it looks like they've even, yeah, so I made a boat and an entire tutorial on how to make that boat, and one of my Year 11s said, I've been away sick for a week, sir, my boat's behind. I made this tutorial series 2 months ago, so he got zero sympathy from me. But these are all the frames. You can even click on them and find out who did the rendering. So this one here was rendered by someone called, I can't pronounce it. And if you look through, there'll be one of them eventually will be rendered by me.
Love Jesus.
Yeah, so love Jesus. There we go. So I rendered that one myself. So I didn't have to pay points to render that frame because I rendered it myself. Okay. So anyhow, if you upload a project, you'll end up negative because you haven't earned any points yet. So if I upload them, then I'll spend those 6 million points that the school's electricity has been earning for us. Does this make some sense? The rendering becomes a whole lot faster. So anyhow, let's come back to Blender. We've got this job ready to go. Now, it might be that you want other cameras. So this is camera number 1, but it's got no number. So where is it on that collection list? Bit of a trick question. Area 01, Bezier circle, ground, light, Suzanne. Where's the camera? It's part of here. So you see this icon? It's actually parented, so it's lower level. There's the camera. Now, one of these buttons, there it is. I've got one camera. If I add in another camera, Shift A camera, and I grab it around, this camera is called camera.001. If I was to look through that, it's just going to stare at the ground, and that's a bit stupid. But I've got two cameras, so now on my list I could make the other one the default camera. What you'll notice now is the top of that triangle, that's showing which way is up, and because it's solid, that's the active camera. And if I change it back to the other one, you'll see that one's now solid, because that's the active camera. So you get your scene ready, you save it, you have to do this part. I don't really need to for this job, because I've got no pictures, but we automatically pack into the textures, and then you'll get a message down here, files, however many have been packed. I don't have any pictures in there, so there's no pictures to pack. So that's one of the things that you do, and you get ready for sending off. Before I go on any further, this circle, if I go into edit mode, these circles have Bezier handles. They're a lot like you'll see in Illustrator. So I could get this, and I could take this one and go G, Z, and pull it down. So the camera will follow a really cool path, but watch what happens over there. Is it aiming at the monkey head?
Can you get it to just lock onto the monkey head, sir?
That's a fantastic question, and it's actually what I was about to do next.
Well done.
Well done, Bailey. You need a high five. Whoever can reach can give you the high five. So what we're going to do is we're going to look around here. One of these, that's physics. I don't want physics. The next one down that looks like two pulleys with a rope around it, or a cable around it, object constraint properties. So if I click on the camera, where's my camera? There it is. Click on the camera. Object, add object constraint. So I'm going to make it track to. So as Bailey suggested, I want it to track to something, but it's red. Why do you think it's giving me a red warning? I haven't told it what the target is. Now I could make it the Suzanne monkey head. Also I could go Shift A, add in an empty plane axis, and I could get it to aim at the plane axis. That's quite handy, because then I could move the plane axis around and I could get the camera to point at a specific place. That's quite handy. But in this case, I'm going to skip that step. And you see this target, that's blank, and it's got an eyedropper there. I'm going to click that eyedropper, and then I hover over Suzanne, and I click it, and now it says Suzanne. But the camera, what happened to the camera? Is it pointing at Suzanne?
Downwards, sir.
It's pointing downwards, so it's got some crazy things about to and up. Now, yes, now you can do some guesswork here. There's only 6 options.
It's X and Y.
It's minus Z, and then up is, I think, was Y, and then, hey presto, look over there, it's pointing at the camera head. So even when it dips around this area, it's going to continue to look at Suzanne, and then it's going to go up, and then it's going to go down. And you can also edit some of this stuff on the fly. So if I wanted to put, for some stupid reason, I wanted to put,
Big hump.
I don't know, rotate it like that. So you wait for it, it's going to come up, and you'll look down, and then it's going to go down, and you're going to look up. So I might even grab this one and pull it even further. But all the while, because it's now tracked to that object, it's always going to point at it. Now, a previous project that you guys have seen that I've done, I'm going to save as, because I want to just pop this on my desktop. Pop it in there, that'll do. Don't call it Untitled, this is just monkey head. Now, one that might happen if your thing you're rendering is a funny shape, like, I don't know, it's long, like a 4-legged object. This is the project that I uploaded. You'll see it's a boat, obviously, nice and long. But right here in the middle, can you see that part?
Yeah.
That is an empty. So when my camera is tracking, it's tracking this empty, and I've actually keyframed that empty. So when I play it, I don't want the end of my camera to get cut off. So this empty, if you keep an eye on it, it actually moves forwards and backwards when I hit play. It's a bit hard to keep a really good eye on it. But you'll see the edge up there, I don't want it to cut off the top. I don't want to cut the bottom motor off. I want it to stay in the middle. And then I'm keeping the front and the back of the boat in frame. Or the back just sort of touched off there a little bit. But these lines, these dots, are the keyframes of the empty. So the camera is actually tracking to the empty. It's not tracking to the boat. Otherwise the boat ends up going in and out of my frame. And that's not really what I want. Okay, so that empty, which I named, I think, copied off someone else's YouTube one there, I just called it AAA camera target. So that's it there. And it's got a whole lot of stuff there. So if I don't look through the camera and I hit play, you'll see that camera target there is moving to the back of the boat, and there's dotted lines going off to the camera, and then as it goes around the other side, you'll see the empty moving forwards. So you can keyframe your camera target too, whilst keeping it in the same space. Now this particular one here, you'll see I've got a big ground area. I've got area lights. I've got lots of lights. I've got a point light there, point light here. Actually, no, that's an area light. Another area light. Another area light. Point. I think at one point in time, excuse the pun, I think I even had one inside here, and then I've got another really large area light out here. They all vary in different strengths to get me the look that I'm after. But the main idea that you need to look at doing is, where is your camera going to look from? What are your lights? What animation are you going to have? What speed is it going to be? Okay, so these are things to consider for the video footage that you need. What I did with this particular model, because you'll see the name of it as Boat for Upload, what I did was I deleted anything that didn't need to be in here. So I deleted all my reference pictures so that when I uploaded the project, it took less bandwidth and I didn't waste a whole bunch of time whilst I was using our best friend here, SheepIT, which is going to manage a lot of our stuff. So essentially what your homework is going to be is, there's this button here, Get Started. Now with this Get Started, if you're running Windows, there's only one thing to install. It's an exe file. If you're running Mac, slightly annoying, you've got to run two things. You've got to run a Java development kit and the client. And if you're a complete weirdo, you're running Linux. And I don't know why Linux has a penguin. But Linux is an alternative, extremely alternative user system. But if you notice here, you can choose a single blend file with packed textures, or a zip file, and you choose it, and the max is 500 megabytes. So you upload it, you have to try to estimate what the frame time is, and you can set it so it only renders on certain CPUs or GPUs or so on. Over here it talks about the waiting list. It says, I currently have 6,398,000 and so on points, so I'll be second on the waiting list. So as soon as I upload it, my job's getting done. Other words, when I upload your project is getting done. And like I told you, that one 300 frame project, instead of it taking 24 hours and 12 minutes, the entire thing took 40 minutes. So that means you could be done in a period. Okay? And what happens is they split it all up, and then you get charged for everything that you do. Be aware of nudity or anything racist. No one's got anything super nude. I'm hoping that that old man character is going to have undies on, because otherwise he's going to look like he's nude. So we've got to be careful of that one. And I don't think anyone's got any weird scripts or anything like that. If you've got settings that are crazy and it means that it's going to render for ages, then we may have some issues. Also, don't change your file size output too much. Just keep it to 1K as per usual. I think that really covers what I really wanted you to do, was to teach you, hey, get this camera tracking around. You can also have multiple cameras in here, so you might have one that's, I render, for example, if I hit pause, I render from the same angle so I could keep playing or render pictures as it just kind of kept getting better and better and better, that sort of thing. So you're going to be doing a lot of that, and I'm hoping this recording's going to work.